Hello, friends, and welcome to a Happy New Year edition of Happy Half Hour. How about that?
We'll take it. You know, it's the week between Christmas and New Year's. We're lucky that we have football to give us some days, even though this week now the days don't matter either because everything got shifted up a day. But normally that week between Christmas and New Year's is like when you're in an airport, or a casino, there's no clocks, time doesn't matter, days mean nothing. You eat what you want when you want. We're sort of in that same sense of chaos, though, just in a different fashion that we are going to call a play-in playoff game week.
Sure, let's call it that. I think we are obliged by law and union contract to recognize that yesterday's Seahawks game happened. I don't want to spend a terrible amount of time talking about it because, frankly, it didn't matter that much.
Right.
I mean, the Carolina Panthers would have loved to have got that one, especially since their friends, the Miami Dolphins, tried to do them a favor and did by beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the reality is, as so many players talked about in the aftermath of that one yesterday, it's Tampa. Did it go great? It did not. Does it matter? Ultimately, it does not. I mean, it was almost like a no harm, no foul kind of loss. They could have clinched it yesterday. Right. They didn't. Now they get a chance to take care of their own business in Tampa Bay on Saturday. And in case you missed the announcement, and if you haven't, why haven't you been on Panthers.com all day since last night around midnight? Carolina Panthers are playing Tampa Bay Buccaneers Saturday, 4:30, ABC and ESPN. And stay tuned to all your favorite channels here for all the latest on the build-up to the biggest game in franchise history, at least in the last 7 or 8 years.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, would have been nice to have it already. And a couple of guys made that comment, you come in and you see the Miami Bucs score because they were very careful to not show it in the stadium yesterday. Mm-hmm. You come in, you see the score, and there's a little moment of a twinge where you're like, dang, that would have been nice. But they always kind of felt like it was going to come down to Week 18. And that's not to say that they didn't try to win yesterday. That's not it to say at all. Seattle's a really, really good team.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of getting lost for whatever reason. That's getting lost in the narrative here.
Yeah.
Is that Seattle has a chance to be the number 1 seed in the NFC, which is clearly the loaded conference this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you've got a chance to be a number 1 seed in that conference, you're not just stumbling through the schedule.
What was it your people called it early in the year? You said this. It's
holding space for two truths.
Holding space for two truths. That's right. We can run that
really,
back as
really
a title,
good
Matt.
Yeah.
How did that episode do earlier? We'll look it up and see if we can get people confused. Maybe click twice. But that's the thing. I mean, here's what happened in yesterday's game. The Carolina Panthers played the Seattle Seahawks, who are the number 1 seed in the NFC right now, to 122 yards and 3 points in the first half. That was borderline heroic. The defense was playing great. They were making plays all over the field. Start the third quarter, turn it over twice in your own end. Boom, they turned both those into touchdowns, ball game.
Yeah.
When the Panthers got another score, got some degree of possibility stirring in the building, then came the 3rd and 1 penalty on J.C. Horn, and that was pretty much it. That was the point at which I started writing playoff scenarios based on other things because, the reality is the Carolina Panthers had to play a near-perfect game to beat the Seattle Seahawks. Had they beaten two top teams in the NFC earlier this year, and the Packers and the Rams, they have. And in both those games, almost everything went perfectly for them, if you think back to those days. So it's
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, too, credit to our PR staff. They dug up an interesting stat last week. To beat 3 number 1 teams. To beat 3 number 1 teams in a season is a feat so rare. It has not been done since 2014.
When Dave Canales
was with the Seahawks.
Did it.
And so it would have been incredible. It is the NFL's hard regardless. It would have been hard. But yeah, like you said, would have had to play a perfect game. Played pretty much a perfect half. Even though I know there was no points on the board at halftime, the two defenses really were playing really, really good football through that half. You were starting to see stuff in the third quarter. They played about a perfect 2.5 quarters.
Somewhere in that range. I mean, here's the reality for the Carolina Panthers, and we've talked about this throughout the course of the year. This team this year has been a success for the Carolina Panthers if it stops today. If you go stop the count at 3-3 at halftime and it's a tie, and then the Carolina Panthers would be in the playoffs if they'd have tied that game yesterday. But if you went stop the count right now, this is a phenomenal success. 2 wins, 5 wins, 8 wins. Anything else that happens is gravy. But in sitting around last night watching the Bears and the 49ers, one of the things that came through to me, I mean, the Panthers have made these incredible strides this year. They've raised their level. They're up now to the point where they're contending for playoff spots. There's still a space between the Carolina Panthers and the top teams in the NFC. Your Rams, your 49ers, your Seahawks, those guys are playing at a level unlike most people in the NFL. And it's going to take time. And we've talked about the process. We've talked about building out a roster. And they are so much better than they were this time a year ago. They are so much deeper, so much more stable. I mean, a year ago this time, they literally signed a linebacker off the streets on a Tuesday and started him on a Sunday. And
I don't even remember that happening. That's crazy.
You put some respect on Chandler Wooten's name, all right? Yeah, Woote's a great guy. But Woot was not starting at middle linebacker in the NFL until the Carolina Panthers called that week. So, I mean, that's just an example of where they are. I mean, this year they're playing guys because they choose to, and other teams are out there signing people off their practice squad to put on their 53. Mm-hmm. These are things that were not happening previously. This team is so much deeper. It's so much more talented than it was a year ago at this time, especially 2 years ago at this time. And I think, in the short-term disappointment about one game, it's easy to lose sight of some of that. I kind of giggle when I read the questions that come in for the mailbag at Ask the Old Guy on Panthers.com. Feel free to contribute. There's a handy form right there on the website. But I had somebody send in a question saying they should fire Dave Canales.
I saw that a few times yesterday.
I had somebody send in a question asking if J.C. Horn was overrated. Friends, Dave Canales is good at coaching football. Yeah. They lost a game yesterday. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. J.C. Horn made a mistake, which he raised his hand and owned in the postgame. J.C. Horn's also going to the Pro Bowl for the second straight year. Mm-hmm. They don't just hand those out to bad players. So I think keeping that kind of perspective, and when I get it when fans who have a huge emotional investment in this deal, it gets close. It's like Ted Lasso said, it's the hope that kills you.
It's the hope that kills you.
And when you've got that and when you can see it and it's right there and it's snatched away at the last second, I get it. People wish this thing would have been over yesterday and you could have clinched a division at home for the first time since 1996.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All the other division clinches in franchise history have been on the road, as will this one if the Carolina Panthers beat the Bucs on Sunday. But Saturday. I get that people are feeling some kind of way, but it's just, I think to be an educated fan, to be a rational fan, you've also got to accept this is so much better than it's been, and it's so much more stable going into 26 than it's been in a minute around here.
And I think, again, not to gloss over things that went wrong in the loss, but it's a little more tangible things that can be fixed. This game a year or two ago, we probably know how it goes. And afterwards, it's just kind of there's going to be a shrug and it got to be better. This week, you can come off the field yesterday and go, the problem was they played us more man-to-man than they've played all year. They saw something, made it almost impossible to throw the ball downfield. I think there was one play that was over 10 air yards. That's a tangible thing you can look at and go, okay, how might the Bucs try to copy that? What do we do to counteract it? On defense, same thing. Defense, let's take a moment for a little aside. That was the number one explosive offense in the NFL that came in yesterday.
Yep.
You know how many explosives they threw yesterday, Darin?
How many?
They technically threw 3 based on the definition of explosive. They were for 16, 17, and 18 yards respectively. The 16 and 17 were both screens that had yak yardage.
Yeah.
The defense really, really kind of locked things up to stop the explosive plays, which was something that had hurt them earlier in the year. And they said, okay, this is where we're getting hurt. How do we fix it? And they did. And so same thing. A lot of the points yesterday came off all 3 touchdowns came off short fields because of 2 turnovers and a turnover on downs. And why did those things happen? Again, you can kind of look back to what Seattle was doing on defense. That's a tangible thing that you can go into this week and figure out how to address. And so that's not to say, that washes away anything that went bad yesterday. But to your point, it shows the growth of, okay, this is not just a lost cause. This is something that's fixable and addressable before we go play a game that could get us into the playoffs.
Right. And I've mentioned in the past, I mean, that 2022 run when you were out there playing with an interim coach and Steve Wilkes and a whole bunch of interim players where they made that run. When a J.C. Horn got hurt that season, then you go to Tampa to play for the division. That's when Mike Evans goes for 2 bills and 3 touchdowns.
Ooh.
I mean, that's where it was. Now, when you've got a J.C. Horn on the other side of the field and people try to throw away from him, there's a Mike Jackson over there who, if the Carolina Panthers had won that game and clinched the division, Mike might have an endorsement deal with a large national snack cracker dealership or something, because listen, Mike talked about being traded for a bag of chips last week.
Yeah,
the chips would have all been in his locker after that game if it would have gone the other direction. But that's what I'm saying. That's kind of the larger point here with Mike Jackson being able to step up, make a bunch of plays, leading the NFL in passes defensed at this point in the season, coming off another pick. He's playing really well. It's a team that's building and ascending. Now, there's still business to take care of, obviously. If you haven't read your Carolina Panthers playoff scenarios, A, what's wrong with you? B, Steve Kornacki did. Matt, should I get up? If I start going big board back here behind me, will it do anything?
Can you do the CNN Electoral College board?
Can I just poke at the screen and do anything other than break the
Throw
TV?
out, Darin, start with the
If
most
you go to
chaotic.
Precinct 2 in Mecklenburg County, right here, we've got, it clearly shows.
Tell us what can happen if Atlanta wins out.
Yeah.
That's the one that cracks me up.
The short version is go to Tampa Bay, win, in.
Yeah.
Boom. Taken care of. Business taken care of. If the Atlanta Falcons, if our friends, the Atlanta Falcons, beat the Los Angeles Rams tonight on Monday Night Football, it opens the doors to the chaos scenario. And because this is the NFC South, it's my favorite scenario of them all. I didn't choose the chaos chose me. I didn't choose the NFC South chose me. And if the Atlanta Falcons win tonight against the Rams and win against the New Orleans Saints, and the Carolina Panthers go to the playoffs regardless of the result in Tampa. So there exists a world where if the Falcons win tonight on Monday Night Football against the hated Los Angeles Rams, then the Carolina Panthers could go to Tampa, lose a game, fly back to Charlotte, and hang around all day Sunday watching the Saints and the Falcons with their playoff lives in the balance.
Obviously, you don't want to do that.
Of course not. But that's kind of where they are. I mean, it's they left some opportunities on the table at different points this year. I think as you go back and look at the season, there will be points they regret. That Cardinals game would have loomed large in a common games tiebreaker because that was the big difference between them and the Bucs over the course of the season. Things like that got away from them, that they'll beat their heads against the wall, and they will know they got so close. But they have come so far. And that is the point, I mean, to me, of the 2025 Carolina Panthers is so much progress was made. But obviously it all comes down to this week. This Bucs team is one they're well familiar with. They were just in here 2 weeks ago. 23-20 Panthers win in Week 16 set the stage for all this in motion.
And it's such an interesting conundrum that the NFC South has found themselves in, because it does feel a little bit like two teams kind of going separate directions. I mean, the Bucs started off so hot.
6-2.
Yeah, and they've gone like 1 of 8.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, 1 of 7.
Well, 7 of 8 since then.
Yeah. And I saw today too that let me pull up the stat to make sure I get it right. Yesterday was their fourth loss in a row by 4 or fewer points. They have now played 8 games this season that were decided by 3 or fewer points. They won the first 5 of those, and then those 8 games decided by 3 points or fewer are the most in a single season in franchise history. So they've been in these close games, and at the beginning of the season, they were winning them. And the last half of the season, they've been losing those close games. Whereas we know what the Panthers have done. Win-loss since Week 7. It's gone back and forth every week since then. A lot of those, again, have also been close games. And so, I mean, let's look. You see, since that Buffalo was out of hand. But, I mean, the Green Bay game, that's 3 points. New Orleans, that was 10. Atlanta win, 3 points. San Francisco was a loss. It was 11. The Rams win, 3 points. The Tampa win, 3 points. And so they've gotten into these close games and have won them,
Right.
where that has not necessarily. And that's not to say we know for sure what's going to happen on Saturday. But it's got to affect the confidence a little bit, even though players say that you can't think about it. I'm sure it's there in the back of your mind. And
listen, Tampa Bay that would be quite the deodorant right there. You beat the Carolina Panthers, and we won't be talking about any of those stats. Those
True.
7 out of 8
And
losses,
this is still
any of
a
that kind of
tough
stuff.
offense you've got to face against the Bucs.
And anytime you walk out there on the field as the Carolina Panthers and Mike Evans is on the other side, it's like, oh, there's that dude again. Because he's made play after play after play, more than anybody's made against the Carolina Panthers. So it's obviously there's the opportunity for all kind of calamity. But the Carolina Panthers, if they revert to the form that they have traditionally reverted to after losses, have an opportunity to go in there this week. The other thing that I noticed today as I was doing some casual reading on the internet, and everything's true on the internet.
Abraham Lincoln used to say that.
Yeah, all the time. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are favored by some people. I don't invest in those markets because gambling's illegal at Bushwood and I never slice, but the people who do tell me that means the gamblers believe that the Buccaneers have a better chance of winning this game.
Yeah,
so,
but
your Carolina Panthers have performed well in that situation. They would rather be the underdog than the favorite.
Tell the locker room that they're not favored. There is some context to add to that. I think I saw the line was 3.5. Does that sound right, Matt? 3.5. Oh, okay. I just felt like for some reason that was something you would know.
That's one of those things I don't want too much knowledge of because I value my job here in the NFL.
I want to say I saw somewhere on Al Gore's internet it's like 3.5. You get 3 for being the home team.
Sure.
So it's technically a push, which means more than anything they kind of see it as even.
Yeah.
2.5.
It was 2.5. It went down.
Oh, well, there you go.
Okay. So technically, if we're going by the 3 for home again.
And you see all these different calculators on the internet. I mean, I saw one had the Bucs as a 52.6% chance of going to the playoffs to the Panthers 47.8 or whatever. I mean, it's
that
just
part is a little curious. I really think more than anything they're favoring the Bucs experience
the
there.
Bucs have won 4 straight division
titles,
that's
got to be
and they're
it.
at home. So that's going to give them a slight edge in this deal, but from what we've seen of the football they've played over the last 8 weeks compared to the football the Panthers have played over the last 8 weeks, at least in 4 of those 8 weeks, it's going to be an interesting game. Here's the deal. We've got a ton of stuff to get into. This is going to be a big week. This is going to be a newsy week. As I always do, I implore you to stay tuned to Panthers.com all week long. There's going to be injury updates, probably some transactions, moves being made, all kind of news coming up. Hall of Fame finalists are going to be announced tomorrow morning. Be on the lookout for some of your Panthers heroes on that list. Again, big game coming up on Saturday. I'm going to say that right. I'm going to get it right. I promise. I wrote it, and I'm going to get it right.
Ryan Fitzpatrick will on a Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. We'll screw this all up one way or another. But big week, so keep it locked on Panthers.com for all the latest. Watch the YouTube channel for this video and many, many others. We got all kind of cool podcast content coming your way. This is the week to watch it, gang. This is the reason you do the thing. This is the reason they've been doing this stuff all year long. Carolina Panthers are going into the new year playing for the playoffs. How about that?
We'll take it.
What a time to be alive. Until later on this week at a time TBD, because that's the way you do schedules in Week 18 of the NFL season. We'll see you next time on the Happy Half Hour.